Here are my thoughts on Attorney General Pam Bondi being fired by Donald Trump today. And welcome to the patriarchy, sis. You were working for a version of the patriarchy, the right that uses women as shields. It was never set up for you to succeed. You were given insurmountable tasks that were created by your boss to accomplish things that just weren't really possible. And when you failed at it, you were discarded. And that's what happens to women all across the United States, all across the world. And it's to be said, we're the only one of the few industrialized nations that have never had female president, despite the fact that don't care what you think about those two women, that they were qualified. One served as a US Senator. She was a former First Lady. She was a Secretary of State. The second one was the Attorney General of one of the largest states, was the Vice President, and was a sitting US Senator. And you all they America chose a bankrupt man, morally corrupt, who was adjudicated, stole top secret documents that we know now from recent reporting for his own selfish needs, tried to subvert the will of the people by trying to find votes in Georgia, was convicted, criminally convicted 34 times for falsifying records to hide the fact that he had relations with porn stars in New York City. So he's a criminal felon convict who by this time he'd already admitted to SA of women, and he'd already had several different allegations of SA of children, and they voted for him. So this is the society and culture that you are the attorney general in. So welcome to the patriarchy. And the issue is that you had options and you guys chose to be pick me's. You and Christy Noem, I said that you see the pattern of the cabinet members. They're all chaotic. They're all doing legally risky things that are, and they have been, but they haven't gotten lost. He hasn't gotten rid of them. Stephen Miller has done a lot of things. He's caused Donald Trump to lose a lot of cases. He's telling Donald Trump all sorts of stuff. The Christy Noem's entire campaign of chaos and craziness and the ICE agents, bounty thing, that's all Stephen Miller. He still has a job. It's him. He did that. But Christy Noem's got fired. I'm gonna tell you why she contributed to her own firing in a second. And then you have Tom Homan, who is on the other side of this. He's going to be held accountable for taking $50,000 of cash in a bag. Maybe not now, but he was sent in to replace Christy Noem when Donald Trump decided to, like, he's on the way of sidelining her. He sent the man who was, there's no integrity anyway. He's selling off pardons and pardoning all sorts of criminals and doing all sorts of crazy stuff. So I don't even need to go there. And they're still there. Todd Blanche is the one. There's a case in Tennessee that's about to be they're about to lose because Todd Blanche went on Fox News and Laura Ingraham show and admitted to a crime on TV, which hopefully he'll get held accountable for. And then there's rumors that you're going to be replaced by Lee Zeldin. Lee Zeldin went in front of the House and Senate and perjured himself, lied. He was thrown under the bus by the Department of Justice. And so, despite the fact that he committed perjury, which is something that he might be held on the other side of it, he's now on the top of the list to replace you. A criminal perjurer, allegedly, it looks like to me, because so they're gonna punish you, the women. Now, here's what y'all could have done differently, because Donald Trump would essentially set you up in the task. He's the one who campaigned on release of the Epstein files, not you. He went on these podcast bros and said, "Yeah, I'm going to release the files." And then one of the things he was saying and being, "Yeah, I'm going to have Pam release the files." And you had that little gimmick, that little stunt of bringing all these right wing influencers and giving them binders. And so from the beginning, it was a setup, because he knew, because Representative Ro Khanna did this alt search and discovered that you were mentioned, Donald Trump, 1.5 million times. You're the one who said you wish Ghislaine well. Someone who's been convicted of child trafficking. Why are you wishing them well? At one point, reports were out that you and Epstein's were friends. At one point, there's a report out that you said Palm Beach was a different time back then. All of these things, when I hear this, just says that, yeah, you knew when you campaigned on the Epstein files that that was a poison. That was like a tar baby. That was something like that wasn't necessarily good. It was a lie that you wanted them to release because you did not want them to release, but yet you campaigned on that. You also campaigned on putting all these 20, 40, 50 million people from the insane asylums. None of that was based on truth. None of them based on facts, because the facts are, even Texas, when they did research as to, because they're the ones that target and track of crimes by migrants and immigrants, and it's like something like 2% or something like that. It's way below what actual Americans and actual legal residents are committing, and that's what the evidence will shows you all the time. Y'all are tackling you just put Christy Nome in charge of another insurmountable task to get all these people that don't exist, get all these criminals that don't exist, deport all these people, the mass deportation of what? Because they just don't exist. And that's why Joe Biden was more successful and Barack Obama was more successful at deporting people, is because they didn't do that. They got people at the border. But you know what happened? What you did, you were so successful at discouraging people to come at the border, at closing out the border, that during Joe Biden's 4 terms, border crossings went down month after month after month for 4 years. By the end of Joe Biden's term, the border agents were so bored. Greg Bovino took a bunch of them and went to California to do some sort of hijink stunt to get your attention so he can get the job that he got in, because they were doing nothing. Check out, there's an Axios report. It was like 30,000. They were doing nothing. They've been doing nothing because you did so well. And so you gave that to Joe Biden. Joe Biden was like, thank you. So now I can take credit for these border crossings going down. And so there are no criminals coming in. I'm not saying they're not criminals, but the numbers are going down. They're not really there. The folks who are here are already entrenched, embedded in our communities. They are essential workers. They're business owners. There are parents to U.S. citizen children, adult U.S. citizen children, Marines. They have businesses, and they're doing nothing. But yet you told Pam Bondi, you told Christy Nome to legislate to help you with this mass deportation. She bought all these detention centers. The math isn't mathing. When Todd Lyons was in front of congressional hearings, Todd Lyons said that they had targeted 7,000 domestic terrorists and gangs, but they were proudly that they had like arrested something like 40,000 people. And the members, the senators were like, sir, that's less than 2%. So you spend all this time traumatizing and detaining all these people because you're targeting less than 2%. So that's why Joe Biden and Barack Obama chose to not bother those people, because the risk of the risk would happen. We saw what happened with Pram Bond, with Renee Good and Alex Preddy, the risk of having all of the protests, the risks of potentially accidentally deporting or accidentally arresting and detaining, and all the things that we've seen with the going after these people has not been popular, and that's why the approval rating on that is going down, even though that's what you campaigned on. You campaigned on a lie, and you told her to make this lie true, and she could not make the lie true. So she just said, let's go after everybody, and they've been targeting people in weird ways to just try to look and catch people, but they're trying to catch people who've been living here doing nothing and actually contributing to our tax. The federal, state, and local tax has been going up, and Social Security, everything. They're actually adding. They're not taking away. They're not draining our Social Security. They're not draining our. They're not doing it all. That's a lie. That's a stereotype that you had in your head based on your racist old Adderall-ridden, dementia, cognitively declined brain. And Christy Nome hopped on that, and then they're like, okay, we're gonna send a signal down to people, and we're gonna just start arresting people, start terrorizing people, and people are like, we don't like that. So that was your mistake of not reading the stats and data to tell you that people don't want these folks going. The stats would have showed you that Project 2025 was unpopular. Nobody wanted these people to be gone, but you decided to tackle people that nobody wanted gone. So whose fault is that? Is her fault for doing that? Yes, because she decided to yield her power to goofy ass Stephen Miller, the Jewish Nazi, and also her friend Corey Lewandowski, who was fired for several jobs, had allegations of assault of women, who left her. He was the one that came up, I believe, came up that, say the 100,000 or more contracts had to go through her, created that backlog. That was him. She yielded her power to a bunch of men, and she got fired for that shit. And the men are still existing, though they're going to be held accountable eventually. Then Pam Bondi, she had a chance to say, you know what, sir, you want me to prosecute your enemies, but look at this facts doesn't look like it. The people did the research, and there's nothing we can get them on. Sorry, they live pretty clean lives. This is a nothing burger, and we're just gonna look like super. I can do it for you, but it'll be nothing burger to let you know. Let's instead pivot and focus on other priorities rather than revenge. Let's do something different. You know what I mean? Instead of saying no and saying, listen here, I see what you want to do, but what you want to do is not legally feasible. So based on my expert experience, and it's not looking like it's going to happen, but if we try it, I don't want you to blame me. All right. That's what she should have told him. Instead, she just says, he's the best president. The Dow was 50,000. To try to simp and try to be a pick me. Don't be a pick me in the patriarchy because it will like use you as a shield, chew you up, and spit you out. The way it did Chrissy Nome, the way he did use, the way he's gonna do all the rest of them. JJ Lee, each one teach one. Let's talk below. What are your thoughts?